Hey Russ fans, in this particular episode you're going to see me going crazy with this, my old friend, fairly crazy with this, a very large spanner, quite a lot crazy with this wire brush, but most of all you'll be pleased to know that we're not at the end of the rust after all. There are a few surprises. Not nice ones, just surprises. Let's get going. Okay, we're going to play electric cars. So here's my gearbox. I don't know whether it actually works or not, so I'm just going to test this, see if it works. So I've got my electric drill stuck on the input shaft of the gearbox, and I think that's probably neutral. Yeah, it appears so. So let's have a think. So if I pull that and I pull that out, so that should be first gear. Yep, that looks good. And let's see if we can get reverse. That sounds like reverse. Yeah, that looks good. Second. Looks good. Third. That's going faster. That should be fourth. Looking good. So we have gears. So I know the engine runs because the engine was running before I bought it. So that's all good. So now we have a gearbox that works. There's two things that work. I'm still going to take a look inside the engine though. Yeah, looks oily and horrible. Okay. Right, we're going to just turn our attention to the chassis for a little while. So this is the bit that I'm going to sort out next. There's a sort of lip that goes around the edge, as you can see that's rotten through. So I think I've got to peel that back. So I'll need to cut that and then peel it back, and then I can access the plate underneath it. And then I'll presumably have to make a new one of these to fit back over it once I've welded in a new sheet here. It's quite thick stuff, it's about 1.5 mil this, which is pretty thick. Anyway, should make it easy to weld. So yeah, we're going to peel that off and have a look inside. So we've got the top layer off. I've left a bit in here because this appears to have the chassis number on it, which I can't really read, but go on the other side. I just felt a raindrop. So it's quite difficult to read. If anyone can decipher that, then you're a better man than I. So it's not too bad in here. It's pretty good. There's no great shocks or scares, no horrors hiding. This piece seems to have disconnected itself from the main part of the chassis, so you have to weld that back on. The other side looks alright. Just looks like somebody missed a spot weld there. Anyway, I've got to take this edge off now and see what we can do behind it, but lo and behold, it started to rain. Lovely. Okay, so I'm trying to work out what's going on here. So it's a very odd arrangement, but I think I've got it figured out now. So there's a lip that's bent over. This lip is part of the chassis, or the longer on, maybe that's the right word, I'm not sure. So that's what this lip is. This bit that's coming out here is the floor part. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? Yeah, should be able to see that. So you can see as I've turned this over, this piece and this piece is the same piece of metal. It's just bent over. This bit on the top here is part of the floor that goes straight across. So I think I'm pretty sure what I've got to do here, therefore, is, and there's quite a few spot welds in here. You can see them, but you can't find them because it's so pitted with rust. It's almost impossible to tell where the spot welds are. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm going to paint that over, and then I'm going to get this metal out, and I'm sure it's the same all along here, and it will be the same over there as well. It doesn't, you know, the only other way of doing this would be to just, you know, weld your new piece of steel in, butt against that piece, and it's thick stuff, fairly thick stuff anyway. So I mean, you could do that, I guess. But there we go. Some of the top section of it, as you can see, is a little bit rotten in places. Not to mention over here, where it's in fact missing. So I think the best bet is probably just to peel it back and see what's under there, and then get as much of the floor in to fill this area as possible. I'm going to have to do some amendments for this. So I cut a hole in that. Also, I was cutting the floor out, I think. And there's a few little holes where the spot welds are split out, which I need to patch up. But fortunately, as it's all part of the chassis, it's not too much of a big deal. And then I need to get into the underside as well, because you can see these little holes peeping through. So I need to get to the underside of it as well. So I'm going to probably do it all at the same time. So I'll need to turn the chassis over to do the other part. That'll be fun. Right, here we go. Let's get on with it. So more on the chassis. So as you can probably tell, I've tipped the car on its side. Balances actually reasonably well, just on its tyres, to be honest. But bit of rope there, just to be sure, because I'm working on the other side of it, and I don't want to get squished, even though it's not particularly heavy. So I'm going to do the bottom half of this. I'm not sure how easy it is to see, because as usual we've got light issues, but the bottom half is not so bad. But I need to cut into that. I've been having a good look around the rest of the chassis. Got these strengthening points here, and all of that looks very good, apart from where it seems to be disconnected there for some reason. So I'm going to investigate that more when I get the bottom off. There's also a little bit of damage around the front here. Looks like it's just bent. There's a bit of a split there, which I think should probably have a bit of the top panel in there, so I might have to get in there and mend that. Yeah, I mean the whole of the, you can see on the end here, the whole of the repairs to this are just a bit more problematic because of this. The side of the chassis here comes around the outside of the other pieces to form the strength. That's really what makes it quite hard work to get into. Other than that, it'd be dead simple. So on this side, these holes appear to actually be here for a reason, because there's two of them. These ones are not here for a reason, so they need to be dealt with. And I'm just trying to work out where to cut out this lump of floor. That's my next job. So, a bit of bad news on the chassis front. I was hoping I might get away with just being able to replace a couple of the top and bottom panels, but Mr. Rust has intervened and decided that I need to do a load more work. So yeah, this is all going to have to get picked apart and sorted out, which means I'm going to have to take the front suspension off, which is, you know, I suppose no big deal. It's easy enough to do. I just didn't really want to do it, but that's the only way I can get it, all of that, to be able to replace it. The inner piece is a big old thick piece, so I think that bit's probably going to live. It's the this part of the rail that's gone rotten at the bottom here. So yeah, we're going to have to dig into that. Okay, in the meantime, I'm going to just fix these panels up here, and I'm going to weld the other panel that I've got to go on the other side here, on the other side of it, on the passenger side. I'm going to weld that in as well. Anyway, there we go. So this body shell hasn't got any rust on it. So the mystery continues. So on the other side, this is a right-hand drive car. Let's just be clear about that. This is a right-hand drive car, so you are looking at the right-hand side here. If it was on the ground, and interestingly, on the other side of the chassis, on that side of the chassis, there is only this piece, which you see here, and then that's it. But on this side, there is not only this piece that comes through here, but also there's another piece in here, sort of strengthener or something, really solidly connected. So it's obviously there for a reason, but it's interesting that it's different from the other side. So don't know why that is. Perhaps somebody can enlighten us all. But anyway, as you can see, that forms part of what goes on in here, so that's why I need to take those bolts out so we can have a look at what lies beneath. Okay, I've just spent a glorious probably 2 hours trying to get this suspension cylinder out. I can't get this centre bit out that way, but I don't know why. Anyway, so that was a glorious 2 hours I won't get back. So I've admitted defeat and actually ordered a couple of 46mm spanners, which are not cheap, so that I can actually finish doing that job and get the bloody thing out of the way. I was trying to get it out of the way so that I could get into this bit, but fortunately there's enough wiggle room on all of this now that I can get in there. So this is what we've got. So I've just cut off the outer face of the I think it's a sort of strengthener plate that goes in here. So nothing much wrong with that. I mean, it's a thick old bit of metal, so that won't be difficult to weld back in. But you can see that's the skin that matches with this piece of the chassis. So you can see where it's gone rotten. It's mostly only rotten really where I've cut it there. I'm going to have a bit of a fish around a bit further below and just see if there's anything else in there. But if that's looking okay, I'm going to chop that bit out, replace that whole piece of the chassis section in there, clean up all of the horrible stuff behind it, and then weld it all back together. So that will have fixed that. What a job! Blimey, and it's so hot. So I've made up a new lip. Just put that in. Now I've got to push this bit back into place, and now I've got something solid that I can leverage against. That should be good. And I've got to make up a couple of pieces to go across there because they appear to join each other on the top. So I'll do that bit next. So it should be easy. Well, there we go. So doesn't look like much now, does it? But as I've often said, what you see on the surface is kind of the easy bit. It's all the other stuff underneath that's more challenging. So that's now done. So you know, I've done all the repairs inside here. That's all got new metal in it, so we've got nice new steel everywhere. So that bit's all perfect. So I'm really happy with that now. That is completely cool and sound. So now I can, when the paint's dried on these, I'll get the lip folded back over, and then that I think will probably do us on the floor. Then it's the great fun job of cleaning up the rest of this crap. What fun! Okay, so before I go in, I'm just going to talk about where I've got to. So I've been over and mechanically wire brushed everything pretty much that was revealed as a bit rusty. There's lots of stuff where I poked and prodded where it's all good and solid, and you know, as you can tell from some of these bits, we're right the way down to the good brown stuff, and that all looks in good nick. And so I've cleaned all of that up, and I've generalised it, which is why it looks a bit of a strange colour in the light. That's just Genelite rust converter, that stuff. So that's, with this stuff, you don't have to go through the process of washing it off. It's good to paint after you've used it. Seems pretty effective in the years I've been using it. So I'm happy with doing it on this. It doesn't take very long to dry. It's actually dry now, but it says you've got to wait 3 hours before you can paint. So the new panel in the bottom there. So I've sealed all of that in. So that's all good to go. And I've just been cleaning the front axle off so I can put that back in when I tip it all over. So job for tomorrow is going to be to give this whole thing a good stone chipping around, particularly this area here, because this looks like the bit that takes all the brunt of the weather underneath, and then go from there. That's crossed my mind that I should sort of take the whole thing just all the way back to the paint, and go from there, and you know, do everything again in the lovely brown, which you see everywhere on this car. But you know, ultimately this car's going to get used, and having it in a bare, just painted state on the bottom of the car is just not going to be a sensible way forward. So you know, you want a car like this to be used. You're not sitting around doing nothing. So I'm going to be going through the whole thing with some stone chip, Tetrasteel stuff, and then I'll shut it after with this stuff. It's like an underseal, but it dries hard. It's a bit like a stone chip. So I'll use some of that on the chassis and do the whole thing with that, so it's all good. And then I've got a couple of repairs that I've got to make around here to get all of that end of things sorted out. Notably that I managed to saw my way through one of those nuts on there, so I've got to sort that out. So then I can get the chassis turned over, and then we can put the front axle back on once that's all nice and cleaned up, and then we'll have it back on its wheels again, which will be great. And then we can go from there in what comes next. So that's where we are. So here we are with the chassis now done in stone chip. So you can see we've got a bit of shrinkage here where I got it on a bit thick. That's all that stuff is, and that'll all disappear once we've got the shuts over the top of it, which is black. So that is now all done, and I will get the black on there, but I've also been busy going crazy with some rusty metal, going crazy with the wire brush and sorting out the front axle. So that has been about, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 hours worth of wire brushing to get that all cleaned up and down to metal, and it's looking a bit shiny there because it's got some Genelite on it. Yeah, it's all pretty good, but that's, you know, getting in all the little nooks and crannies and places around there is not an easy job. So yeah, managed to get that done. Steaky. I think this will be alright, don't you? It's an only 75 car, so it doesn't need an MOT. Should be great. Welcome to the new spray booth. Yep, that's right folks, this thing is going to be my spray booth. It's a bit of a windy day today, so it's getting a test. I bought this thing on the usual eBay, and it was about 170 quid in the UK. Not particularly expensive. It's actually made out of quite decent material, like a tent would be. It's got 4 sides to it, and it collapses fairly easily. If you've got a couple of people handy, you can collapse this thing quickly and get rid of it out of the way, which was a prerequisite for the wife letting me put this thing up. So this is the space that I've got. It's 3 meters by 6 meters, or about the size of a single garage in old money. So I've got this here now. I'm going to do the painting in here. It's going to get messed up inside, but I did buy one where I know that I'm going to be able to get a new cover for it, so that when I've ruined it, it doesn't matter, you just get a new cover. That won't cost so much money. So for actually not very much money, I've got an extra space to work in, and it has rained a bit just lately, and it's definitely waterproof, although the water course comes in underneath, so I can get on and get work done even when it's raining. And this is always one of the main problems with trying to restore something out in your backyard, because when it starts raining, you've got nowhere to go. Now I have got somewhere to go. That's really helping out. So yeah, it's going to be great fun trying to spray a car in here. You're going to see it. So here's the finished repair. So put a new piece in here. Made up these new L-shaped bracket bits. Did both sides in the end. They both look like they're a bit fishy, so I thought I'd just get on and do both. So I've done that. A little bit of seam sealer in there. A little bit of seam sealer around here as well. So today's job, which was going to be the other day's job, was to clean up all of this. Clean up all of the chassis. Make sure it's all lovely and clean, ready for a bit of stone chipping. And a bit of shutzing. So that's what I'm going to do now. So we've got the stone chip on, which as you can see is a kind of grey colour. So the stone chip's all there. I've painted all the other bits that I need to be done, like the suspension legs and what have you. They're all painted up in stone chip and satin finish, which I tend to think looks quite nice. But I think I might go a little bit mad here, and at least paint some of these visible bits on the top in the funny chassis brown colour. I'm going to leave this. I'm going to leave the sides and so on in just the shuts. But I think it might look nicer if you know, when you open the bonnet, if you see that this bit's, you know, brown, and the floor, obviously, the middle section of that is supposed to be brown. So I'm going to do those bits, so make it look pretty, I suppose. I've done the inside of the new wings that I bought from Burton's. These are the cheapo versions, which were I think 60 quid a piece. The old ones have seen better days. They were horribly rusty, and for 60 quid it's just not worth me trying to repair those. And that's the engine skid plate sump pan thing. I did actually try and beat all the dents out of it, but you can, now that it's got some paint on it, you can see I've missed quite a few. But anyway, there we go. I'm sure that it'll get a few more in its life. So there we go. That's what I'm going to do next, is get some brown going on here. Okay, so I've done the brown. So can you tell the difference? It's really hard to see. I already managed to scratch it up putting the front axle on, so I've done a quick touch up on that. I'm sure I'm going to scratch it up again, so I'm not doing a huge effort right now. But it's going to rain tomorrow, so I just wanted to make sure there's some paint on there. So yeah, it looks a bit more brown, doesn't it? Just a bit. Anyway, there we go. Some nice people left me some packaging, so in a minute that is going to come over here and sit on that, and then we're going to put the car cover on it, because apparently we're in for a very windy night, 50-mile-an-hour winds, all that kind of stuff, so should be fun. That's it for now.